morning. This is episode 78, and it's about many issues that affect us. Primarily, I've been thinking about the Republican Party. I don't believe it can be resurrected, not in its present state, and it'll take decades to get it to a point where bipartisanship really is about we the people. I read today that there's a bipartisan committee that just got together and decided, they've got a way to solve the infrastructure problem, the money problem. And what's their method? A hike in the gasoline tax. Well, that's not acceptable. And a hike on electric cars every time you plug in. So here we've got to subsidize the American people so that they can purchase electric cars, and then we're going to tax them, and we're going to tax their fuel. Well, what about the big polluters, like the airlines? Taxing their gasoline, that's megabucks, right? And they just pass it on to the flying public. And a good deal of the flying public can afford it because they too are earning megabucks. But don't tax we the people. I'm already thinking that most people shouldn't feel badly if they have to go on food stamps, because there are about 20 million people who need them. So there's no shame in that anymore. That's what government is here for. It is a social safety net for we the people. When corporations act draconian, and unlike Europe, didn't retain 80% of their workforce, nor did they give them 80% of the pay. No, they just let them all go so that people would be on the mercy of the social safety net. We're not there yet, folks. We don't have that social safety net. We still have the next budget and the next infrastructure plan to take care of child care and stimulus for those who are long-term unemployed and have indeed been left behind. So I don't see new thinking out of the Republican Party at all. It's the same old, same old. Give the corporations a ride and tax the people. And if they don't make it, well, does it really matter? Does to me, because I have a couple of kids who have grown up in this society and they're suffering. If it weren't for me giving out money on occasion to my children and my grandchildren, they may not have the necessities that they need. So, I believe in the federal government because middle-class parents can't afford the burden of debt and student loans that have been placed upon them, especially when there's no work out there. I took a photograph of Broadway recently during the day. There wasn't a car in sight. And even during rush hour at 5 o'clock yesterday, when I went to Brooklyn to celebrate my son's second shot and the 2 weeks after at Peter Luger's, it didn't take us very long at all, maybe 30 minutes to get there. So why look at the lower and middle classes? We've got hedge funds, we've got other funds that are using carried interest. They can be taxed as regular income. if they were, those billion-dollar profits, and there are about, in bad years, there were $22 billion that were generated. Well, if it's taxed as income at 39%, at least that will go a long way to funding infrastructure. I'm already paying 45% when I take my investments and use it for my income. The federal tax is 20 and New York State is 25. So, and I am not a big player. I've already paid for that interest that I'm paying. Because when I earned a living and earned a salary, any money that I had and I wanted to invest, that was after taxes. You know, I already paid the taxes on that money, and then I was free to do with whatever was left over and invest it. So now I'm paying double. If you're making over $1 million a year, I think you can afford the 45% tax. That comes to about what Piketty would have said. You know, you tax assets, except we're not. We're just taxing the stock portfolio. We're not looking at how much money you paid for a piece of art that cost you almost nothing above what people were asking. We're not taxing any of your assets, which Piketty thinks would be fair. If it were up to me, I'd still be doing derivative taxation. For every $100 that is paid out for a derivative contract, I'd charge 6 cents, and we could get $1 trillion a year right away, and nobody would feel the pain, except the guys who were taking the risk. They'd feel it, but the rest of us wouldn't, and we'd have money to spare. So don't look at the people when you're looking at how to get money for infrastructure. We've given. We don't have any more money. We're trying to get a social safety net. So we're not committing some homicides. We're not committing suicides. And we're not taking opiates, which is the last time, by the way, that bipartisanship worked together. They defanged the DEA. They all agreed. If corporations say they're going to do better, well then, you believe the corporations and you can no longer investigate them and go after them for the atrocities that they've committed by getting everyone addicted to opioids. We would not have had this problem because the DEA would be active. Same thing with the FTC. Supreme Court just ruled they don't have the power to regulate the FTC. That has to come out of Congress. Well, we had a Consumer Protection Agency once, and that Consumer Protection Agency protected us from egregious fraud. It's not there now, and so now we've got to have fundamental change again and put back the Consumer Protection Agency and give the FTC enforcement capabilities. Because if you're defrauded, you deserve to be reimbursed. Doesn't matter if it's a utility, doesn't matter if it's communications, you should be reimbursed. Fraud is fraud. No way around it, folks. But we're looking at, will a bipartisan group look at the laws and the fundamental change that is needed? Will they pass police reform? Will they pass prison reform? Will they go after voting rights reform? all the fundamental changes that we need. I don't see bipartisan support for those items, only for items where it means taxing we the people. There's better ways to get money. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. We can go after fossil fuel subsidies, and we can go after Big Pharma. After all, we know Big Pharma can bury carbon. There's a way to have a self-sustaining system there. And we know that the fossil fuel industry is well aware that they're a sunset industry. If the planet is to survive, and people are to survive with biodiverse products to eat, well then, we've got to clean up our air and our water and our oceans and allow the currents to flow so that we people all over can be surviving and thriving and making a living on new industry and new products. No need to worry about deficits. Stimulus will help everyone. It will lift us all out of poverty. It's a good thing. Got to invest. Got to invest to make money. Got to take the risk to make money. You don't do it by saving. So that's my take on the Republican Party and bipartisanship today. I say, thumbs down if this is the best you can come up with. It's the same old, same old. Give it all to the corporations and nothing for we the people. Thank you for listening. God bless you all. And you can bet on it. I'll see you next week, like everyone else, talking about Biden's 100 days. Take care, everybody, and have a blessed day.